1. Hello everyone, welcome back to Norrin Rad, Treasure Buster, Composer Breakdown, Composition Methods, whatever you want to call it. I know you guys are probably sick and tired of the character select theme song that I've played in the last 2 videos I made, so I'm going to jump ahead a bit, and I'm excited now to show you guys one of the boss themes in the game, one of the coveted boss themes that I keep talking about. This one, it's a bit of a zany track. It might be maybe the least palatable song on the soundtrack, which is why I want to show it to you. It came from a good place. I initially wanted to make a Shining Force 1 style song. Like I kind of wanted to base the instruments on the way Shining Force 1 did their instruments, but write my own song to it. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to play my song now, and then I'll break down how I came up with the sound palette. Let's, there you go, and enjoy. So that's boss theme for level 2, and the boss itself is actually a giant gelatinous cube, which is a creature from D&D mythology and just fantasy genres in general. So it's a giant cube of carnivorous ooze, basically, that has eyeballs floating in it so it can see. So it's the sentient ooze, but it knows only to feed. And when the developer and I were I guess, brainstorming how we wanted the music in the game to go, he said he wanted all the boss themes for all the bosses in the game to be almost like the character theme song for the boss itself. So that was kind of cool. I really appreciated that approach, because that let me take this boss and sort of create this theme for it. And the battle itself, how I saw this boss looking, how this battle would look. So I wanted to take there's no cubes, like perfect cubes that exist in nature that I'm aware of. Like, you don't just see a cube, because it takes like so much order to actually create a cube, and the universe is not made of order. The universe is in a constant state of entropy, so, a cube is a really hard thing to find. So it's really, I hate to use the word unnatural, but it's unnatural in terms of like universal things. Like, you don't evolve to be a perfect cube, I don't think, anyways. But anyways, there's something unnerving to me about a cube, especially a cube that is alive. Although, if you're alive, you are very ordered. But, that's beside the point. There's something very disturbing to me about a perfect cube that wants to kill you. So I kind of based the songwriting, the song structure here, around the sort of constant changing of direction that a cube would have. Basically, there's no smooth curves. It's like you're going up one wall of the cube and then you're going down another, and it's all right angles, it's all hard. So that's why I created this transition that you heard a couple times there. This one here. That sort of bookends all the different sections of a song. I wanted it to kind of be as jagged as going around each corner of a cube. It was just kind of my excuse. It's not like I perfectly added up 6 different sections, because that would have been cool too, and appended them all with this weird transition. But no, what I wanted to do is just have it give the appearance of like very hard changes, and that was the only concept that I really had going. But the basis for coming up with this song, there were two, which is kind of a cool combination here. There's the boss theme from Secret of Mana, which is a Super Nintendo game. It's not a Sega Genesis game, but that boss theme is bananas. It's wait, how does that one go? Dang it, I can't remember it. I would hum it for you all if I could remember it. I'm sure I will leave an annotation for it, so you can check it out there. But it's just right from the get-go. The song is just in your face. It's crazy. And even from the first time you fight a boss in the game, it's just this outrageous boss theme. So I wanted that kind of energy. That's kind of the way I like boss themes to go. Just over-the-top energy. Crazy energy. So I wanted that, but I kind of wanted to imagine what that would sound like going through sort of the Shining Force 1 style... what would you call it? Like their production values. So here we go. I'm going to show you... I have to turn off my channel strip here for a second so I can show you. I think this will work. Hopefully I didn't break everything. Bear with me now. Yeah. Okay, so let me play you the Shining Force song, because this is kind of how I had to figure out how they created their song. I had to take every channel from the existing song and save it into its own WAV file, and then open each WAV file up as their own channel in Cubase so I could actually mute them and see like what they look like up close. So here's the Shining Force, the song. You get the gist. The thing that I liked about this song was that they used brass really well. You can overdo brass with FM. Surprise, surprise, you can overdo FM really easily. And so I wanted to know how they got their brass to sound so good, because it has that like bouncy quality to it. Let me just randomly select a part here. It's somewhere around here. Sure. What am I looking at here? This channel and this one. You can't really see it there, can you? Okay. Well, anyways, what you're looking at here, I found out, oh, okay, they have basically two channels, and one is a brass that goes in the hard right, and one is brass that goes in the hard left. And when they combine, they sound like such. And it has kind of that warm quality to it. So that's what I wanted to do with some portions of this song. Oops, that's right. This is gonna be a little hairy while I figure this out. Usually I have this open up on my second monitor, but that monitor now has my streaming window on it. So bear with me now. Yeah, bear with me, everyone. We'll be okay here. There we go. So this is my attempt at their brass section. You can see how right here I got a hard right and a hard left for my brass section like they did. And let's just... So this is that brass section. But I needed to know how they did it so that I could write my own music with it. That sounds bad up top. That sounds super warm down here. And you notice how I got the velocity there. Whoopsie doodle. Yeah, that's using good old FM drive again. Nothing unusual there. Pull up FM drives. I mean, it's all FM drive, and these are all instruments based off the Shining Force instruments themselves. Gosh, that sounds good. FM just sounds so good. Sounds like I have echo built into this one. Yeah. So when I have echo built in, like I just quickly went over there, I actually, that simulates now two channels in one. So the Sega Genesis did not have a delay VST that it could open up, but this is in lieu of me copying and pasting this channel so that there's two of them, and then shifting the second one down a bit and make it lower volume. I just add the delay to it. So this is one of the ways where you can kind of cheat when you're using Cubase, as long as you know what you're doing. Like, obviously I'm using more channels than the Sega Genesis could in the grand scheme of things, but I know what I'm doing so that I don't like there's breaking the rules and then there's breaking the rules. So I'm just breaking the rules, but it achieves the sound that I wanted. So whatever. Get off my back, everyone. Just get off my back. So there's that. So yeah, okay. So I wanted that Shining Force orchestral sound, but I wanted to mix it with the Secret of Mana style zaniness. So Secret of Mana part, this intro part here, yeah, that's like right out of that Secret of Mana track. How the heck did it go? I would love to hum that. It's because it sounds so similar to this song. I keep mixing them up in my head, but that was part of the fun. I didn't actually reference that Secret of Mana track when I made this. Like you can see how I referenced the Shining Force track to try and get the instruments exactly where I wanted them. But what I love doing is trying to reference tracks for your songwriting. So I wanted to, that Secret of Mana track, I'd love to recreate that in Sega Genesis, instead of actually referencing it and like trying to hit all the notes. Like just doing it from memory, you end up getting this weird, like your vision of it. You can sometimes end up with really very characteristic results. Maybe not what you wanted, but you kind of learn to trust your instinct at a certain point, and I'll trust my instincts on that one. That's how it goes. Holy crap, that took me a long time to parse the two out in my head. Nothing beats a good old, like that part you're hearing there. It's made up of a, I don't know what you would call the one on the left. Metallic pluck. I got interesting delay there, or trail off. Yeah, but one thing I like using for arpeggios in FM especially is this sound here. This is a sound that it was used a lot in Warsong, as seen here. But it was also, there was the equivalent of this. I mean, this is like a, what do they call it? A kalimba, or I don't know, it's like a bamboo pipe sound when you're doing mallets. But, I mean, even, like, Bloodsport had a bunch of this in the soundtrack. Like, their version of it. It wasn't this exact sound, but this is, like, the Sega Genesis equivalent to that sound. Anyways, I like that. So it's kind of, you know, that super hard staccato sound, like... This is it's kind of similar. But you might also have heard there's kind of some weird sounds going on here. Where is it? This one? Here we go. Ooh. Blah. What do I got here? Right. There we go. This is the one. This is what the sound sounds like by default. But I actually put a pitch shift on it, so it it was pitch correcting it. I don't even know. I just threw something on at random. I was trying to like pitch it down, but when you turn it on, it just had this really gross sound. That's just the kind of thing, you know, I was just experimenting. Obviously, the Sega Genesis could not do that, but, you know, it's I wanted there to be a sound in the background of this song that kind of sounded like the gelatinous cube itself was kind of moving around and shrieking and stuff. Like, what would a gelatinous cube sound like? Well, it might sound like this. Ooh. Yeah. Well, that's kind of playing in the background. Yeah, that turned out gross. Gross sound. Anyways. You might have heard me in the, what was it, the last video? I said I was going to get to some more in-depth square stuff. Well, that's going to happen right now. Let's do it. I'm using all three of the PSG channels here. Let's actually dive in. Let's look at what this looks like. Alright, so I don't know if I went over this in the last video, but if you're a tracker kind of guy, you're used to making chiptunes and trackers, and you're like, man, I want to make the jump over to Cubase, but I need that rigid tracker look to add all my echo notes in and all this stuff. Well, here's kind of my workaround for that. Let's just do the one channel here. So the purple notes here are lower in volume, and the red ones are full volume. And all I did this is kind of like what you do in a tracker when you're making chiptunes, where here's the note that you hear at full volume, and then you hear it echoed again a couple rows later. Rows when you're using a tracker. Squares when you're using sideways key editor in Cubase. So you can see this note echoes here, this note echoes here, da 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 da, blah 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 blah, la li la. So that's what I did here. I kind of wrote all of my square parts so they had this rigid sound to them. This is not something I did with the FM parts because FM didn't really use that because sometimes they had envelopes for a sound. So if you hard cut it here and start it again in the lower volume, it doesn't sound right. It sounds great when you're using a square wave. So that's why. So you can, this is exactly like Nintendo would do. This long note with the echo, long note with the echo. But sometimes I don't need it. Like sometimes here I want the full brunt of the square wave. What a weird little finish there. So there's three square waves going on, but two of them are probably voice cracking. I have gone through puberty, I swear. Oh, okay, here's where in the last video I showed you if you want your channel to echo like the Sega Genesis, you duplicate it again and then you shift it a little bit down and lower it in volume. I found out that was way too much work and it was really hard to organize when you're making edits. So instead, what I started doing was just adding a delay to my echo channel and then making it so the mix is all the way up. So now you don't hear anything until the, I guess, dotted eighth note here has elapsed, and then you'll start hearing that. So you hear this top channel right when the note hits, and then you hear this one after the eighth note has elapsed. And it sounds like such. Little echoes, right? The reason for that, like this is something you couldn't do if you're working in a more rigid environment, but the reason I like this is because now if I have both channels highlighted like this, double click, opens them both up, but you can only see one at a time. If I move this, you can see the other ones underneath it. So check that out too. You can hear the echo here. Hear me click, and you don't hear a note for a couple, like a little delay. Whereas this channel, you hear it right away. So anyways, that's why I like doing it this way. You add the delay on your second channel because now you can make edits. So whenever I wanted both of these channels to have the same sound, but they're just, they're echoing each other, but it's the same MIDI notes. So if I want to change this note to this, then I can just highlight both and then move it up or whatever. And it moves them both. and the delay will take care of the actual delaying sound. That's not what it's supposed to sound like, but whatever. I've ruined it now. Wait. Huzzah! Control Z. Simple stuff, but it's just in case you guys are wondering. Yeah, so there's also little bits here where I'd add modulation. So if this was a tracker, this whole row here would have H's, little H's in it, H88 or H68 or whatever you want, but this is just H, whatever I've determined here. So however high up it goes is how loud the vibrato is going to be. And this is how long the duration for it is. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard when you're going from a tracker to Cubase, because trackers let you see every channel at once, and you can see all of the modulation that's happening on a channel. So, oh, there's a vibrato going on there, there's a pitch bend here, everything, blah, blah, blah. You can see it all at once. But in Cubase, you can't see it all at once. You can only see one channel at a time, and sometimes you can double click too, but you're really only seeing the pathway here for the channel that's selected. So you can really only see one channel at once, and it makes it hard to keep track of all the detail. So that's why I think most people don't go into that much detail when they're using Cubase or writing music like this. So that's one benefit, one huge benefit of trackers, is you can just get crazy details. But since I played a lot of this, I left the details in like how I played it, instead of how I intricately put all these notes together. So yeah, we're humming along here. We're just zipping along. So by the second half of the song, I was like, okay, we did orchestral. We did our orchestral part as heard here again. And here. But I wanted to, again with those hard edges, I wanted, all right, we got orchestral in one corner, and in the other corner, we just got rock. Let's get rocked. And there's actually one channel I need to mute here, but I don't know which one it is. This one. Okay. We're getting there. It's getting a little rockin' here. But here's where it starts getting outrageous. Yeah. As you can hear, I start using guitars straight up. Yeah, I wanted that included, because I wanted that, again, that hard, like, what's the opposite of classical orchestral sounding stuff? Like, just rock and roll, something completely different. Oh, this is a weird sound. Ooh, let's echo on that. Let's see what I got here. I think I got lucky here. This was a good, just random sound I found. See what we're looking at here. Bring it up. The piece to resistance. FM drive. You can hear there's a little portamento on there. The glide. You can really get crazy with that if you want. Oh, that's just such a creepy sound. I remember the song wrote itself when I got that sound in there. Yep. I know exactly where these notes got to go. Let's bring that back down so it doesn't sound silly for the rest of the song. Yeah, another thing here. This transition. Yeah, okay. This is kind of neat because this takes the classical sound and the electric guitar sound. It just mashes them together for one transition. So this one here. That one was very much inspired by a transition in this Shining Force song. if I can find it. And let's open this up again because we don't want Shining Force going through my strip. It'll sound like crap. You can hear I'm using very similar field snare sound. But aside from that... yeah, it's coming up right after... I think it's this section right here. That, you know, I used to rent Shining Force as a kid back in the day, and the music was awesome, because it's basically a turn-based... not necessarily turn-based, but it's a grid-based strategy game that was really anime art influenced. Like, it had this really distinct art style, like sort of anime medieval or anime fantasy. But it was really well done, and the music was awesome and sounded great. And that song, I mean, the whole soundtrack used to stick out to me. But when I was working on this song, when I was starting this song, that's the reason I picked this Shining Force song in particular, because of that transition and how it always stuck with me. Like, that song only ever came on when there was boss battles. Like, it was a pretty intense thing. So I guess that's why it stood out even more. But I wanted something with like that level of urgency, like just craze. It's crazy sounding. So let's just spill the beans right here. I'm not a music theory guy. Like, I can't hear a chord and then be like, oh yeah, it's a major fifth with the flat vibrato chord, Fillmore. I don't know. So I had to actually look at the notes for the chord here and see how they created that sound. They like these two chords here. Like, I don't even know what they're doing. Saying like a lot. So I have to find these two notes and then play them on a keyboard, and then I start getting the idea of how they created that sound. And then there's also the square waves in there. So all of these things combined, I wanted to make sure I had something that resembled them in my section. So my square waves, and let's turn on my channel strip again. Yeah. Boom. This kind of sounds like a phone, right? Just sounds like a phone ringing, but... let's just stick with the classical sounds for now. Let's hear the whole thing. Right, that's another thing. That trill. That's something that I had to see them do first. Before I was like, oh, that's a thing? Wait, where did they do it? There we go. Right at the start of the song. That's like a simulates flute players when they would, I don't know what they're doing, but that's something flutes would do. And it sounds really good when you have the field snare going, and the flutes goes. So that's how that comes together. I really like this transition. Really ties the place together. The dude abides. Like, that's a weird chord. I don't come up with that chord by myself. I mean, I could, but I wouldn't know that you need this many notes to create this sound. Like, I would probably add less notes than that, but, you know, when you start adding more than 2 notes to a chord, it starts giving it flavor, and I don't know all the flavors yet, so I have to go, like, the end way around. Like, well, what are the notes they use here? Let me put those notes in, let me see how it sounds, and then let me work around how it sounds and build stuff around it. It's like, you know, that's just kind of what you have to do when you don't have all the music theory under wraps, but, you know, it works out for the best, because sometimes you just end up with a happy accident, and you're like, wow, that works out. And then you hear notes in your head, and you're like, oh, I'll totally go in that direction. But the end result, the end result there, it kind of just makes me think of the Batman cartoon, the 90s one. This is kind of like the sound you would get when Batman would be zipping batarangs around and hitting the Joker and whatnot. Well, I think we've wrapped up a video here. Pretty quick one. Well, I guess I'll show you two. Every boss theme in the game comes with a stinger that sort of introduces the boss itself. So the boss gets kind of this introduction track. It's like a 5-second long track. So I guess I'll just play that as well. This is the intro. So when the boss gets introed, you see big Papa Slime and slimy letters, and this plays. And you go right into the meat, right into the business. Is there anything else? I don't know. I want to see the drums. That was one thing I didn't do last time. I didn't go over all the drum sounds. Let me just show you some drums. Echo on there? Why would I do such a thing? Finger drums. Right, so here's my kick. And for some reason I have echo on it, which I will take off right now because it's not conducive to a good demonstration. I can't hear the drum beat in my head when it's echoing. So let's smarten up, everyone. Look at this. What a gong show. This is what it looks like. Still figuring out how to organize a project like this. It gets a little hard. So the best I could do was color code, and the drums are yellow. So let's turn you off. Yes. You know what I'd like to do one time is just a video for all the different drum patterns I know. The theme song for Transformers, Lion, the movie. Okay, the drum sounds I have here, my kick, my snare, and then what I did to kind of even or balance out the two was I had kind of a smash. Other than that, I didn't really use my palm. I guess for this song, that's it. I had another kit that I was working on here, but it lacked zazz. I didn't go with it. And then other than that, you hear the crash, the cymbal crash, which I showed you last video. Love it, rockin'. But yeah, I also use a field snare. Where's the? There we go. That's how it's all made up, you know, like you get your rapid field snare sound, just hold it down, and then you got your individual notes here. And that's how you write a drum beat. Hear what that sounds like. No. Oh, that's right. Longtime listeners of Nornrad might remember me saying there might be a time where some clever, crafty Nintendo composers might have wanted a kick and a snare on the channel at once, but they couldn't do that because you could only get either a kick or a snare sample at a time. So what they would have to do is use either another channel like the triangle wave to do a sort of meaty thud sound to get that kick, and then use the DPCM channel for their snare, or they could record the kick and the snare together in one sample. And this is what it would sound like if you recorded a timpani hit and a crash on one channel together. Or maybe not timpani, but field-based. So when you combine that in there, that's what that sounds like. All right, that's it. I think that's all she wrote. I'm gonna try and keep them quicker. Sorry it took so long for the video to come out. These things take a long time to edit. Like, what can I say? But I'm also still wrapping up some sound effects for another project that should be out at some point as well. But we're sticking to the summer of FM. So follow me on Twitter because I keep posting a new FM track, one a day. And it gets hard because sometimes I don't remember if a track has FM in it till I listen to it again. So I've been just going through all of my archives trying to find tracks with FM in it that are good, or at least up to my quality. I could post some dumpy FM tracks, but I don't want to do that. I want to share the love of good quality FM tracks. So follow me on Twitter, follow the Summer of FM, follow along, post your own if you do. If you see I'm missing any, just post them. Just use that hashtag because we're gonna figure this thing out. We're gonna figure out FM. You know, there's some goofballs out there that say that the 80s sound didn't exist, it was manufactured. Baloney, sirs, or madams, because FM was a huge part of the 80s sound, and, you know, it just doesn't get enough recognition. It's hard to find out there. Trust me, when you go back to all your old songs, you're like, I swear that one had FM in it, and then it doesn't. Or you're like, that wasn't FM, and then it totally was. Sneak in under the radar. But yeah. That's it for this video. We'll see you guys next time. Let me know if you like boss tracks, or if you want to hear more level songs, or if you want to hear something wacky, or just let me know in general if there's anything you wish I was doing instead. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there. Leave some comments. Have a good time. Mostly. Have a good time. That's it. Goodbye, everyone.
Hey, thanks for watching this video. We'll see you guys next time. Feel free to subscribe to this channel.